Welcome back, Tim Thiesen-Live. This segment of the program is brought to you by Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, your voice in Sacramento, pushing back and trying to get some laws amended, especially in the ADA area, to relieve this burden on small businesses. Speaking of small businesses and property owners, my next guest is Renee Faber. She's running for assessor, clerk recorder, and registrar of voters in Kings County. That was a mouthful. Renee, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Renee, tell us a little. You're in a Kings County race, and as we alluded to earlier on the previous segment, we have got just a lot of local races that are very hotly contested right now, from Bakersfield all the way to Stanislaus County. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to talk about the assessor's office.
Okay. Well, I do remember what you said last week about there was a lot of ants at this picnic, and in our race there is a lot of ants at the picnic. Well, my name is Renee Faber, and I am running for the office of Kings County Assessor, Clerk Recorder, Register of Voters. I'm a Kings County resident. I've lived in Kings County my entire life. Born and raised there. My family is a fire family. My father was a fireman and the Kings County fire chief. I'm married to a fireman. We have one daughter and one granddaughter. I've worked in the office of the Kings County Assessor for 25 years. I'm an advanced certified property tax appraiser and currently lead an agricultural team in our unit.
Okay, very good. So you've been there and done that.
Yes, I have.
And so you have a front row seat on really what needs to happen in the office.
Yes, I'm there on a daily basis. I see what goes on and am ready to jump in and make some improvements. Okay.
The assessor, too, we go through this, and every county is a little bit different, but this is a threefold job. You're assessing property tax rolls, valuations, and then also the county clerk recorder that takes care of all the recordings for folks like me that sell real estate.
That's right.
Okay, and then the registrar of voters, which is extremely important also. So you have these combined offices. So let's start off with the importance of the assessor's role in Kings County.
Well, the role of the assessor in any county is to produce a fair and accurate and timely tax roll. And we follow mostly state and constitutional laws based on Prop 13, and we implement those things as far as the assessor goes. And the clerk recorder and the register of voters, we were blessed with that office in the 90s whenever the county decided to merge those offices. And so we all became one happy family that year.
Okay. Okay, so this was not something that's been for all of time. So
no. It was in the 90s, and Joan Bullock ran the clerk's office that was hooked with their elections department, and then George Meisner was the assessor at that time. And they were going to combine the offices, so that year we had an interesting election in the fact that Joan had to run against George, and we had to, the community ultimately had to choose one of them, and the winner was George, and George was our assessor for 22 years.
Okay. The housing market, we're going to talk about ag here in just a little bit, but the housing market's gone through a lot of trauma the last few years, and in real estate, I was explaining to people is your taxes are going to be based on Prop 13 on what you pay.
Exactly.
And then you're going to have your local assessments on top of that, school bonds, hospitals, and fire and what have you. So you did go through a period of time, though, during the big crash of about 4 years ago. Did you go through and reevaluate some properties that were purchased really high? Yeah,
those are Prop 8 properties, and those were all reduced properties, and we did I think we have around 5,000 of those reduced properties on the roll, but as time goes on, we're seeing a lot of those now change ownership and coming back to market value, and they're losing their Prop 8, and we got back on a regular factored base year value. So a lot of those are coming back, Mm-hmm. So the market will bounce back, and it's like it's a scale, it's a rotation.
Right. Yeah, and it always goes. In California, unlike other states, California is still a growth state. So we're going to have our ups and downs, but the long graph is always up in California.
Exactly. And, in our area, you hear it in the news, and our area is probably one of the last areas that actually gets affected by whatever the local trend is. So whenever the market's improving in Fresno, Kings County may just be getting the hint of it.
Yeah. We have counties like Fresno, Kern to some degree, and in north and south, Orange County is a leader, and Marin County up north. And those are totally different markets, but those are usually kind of the front side, and those are the ones that are the indicators, and everybody follows in about 6 to 7 months. The Williamson Act is a kind of a complicated thing, but a very necessary thing for our ag community, and now we have the impact of the drought and the lack of water is going to start affecting values. So let's talk a little bit about Williamson Act, the pressure it's been under, and with the state not backfilling now on the differences.
Yeah, in 2008, 2009, Kings County's subvention money was around $2.8 million, and since then, I think that our subvention money is down to about $79. That's our portion of it, so it's virtually nothing. So the county, Kings County, and every county that has Williamson Act properties in the state of California has had to absorb whatever their subvention money was in some other ways. And Kings County's done a fairly decent job of it. Our county government is still operating as normally as possible. I hear that in 2015 the state of California is thinking about bringing back the subvention, so we're all hopeful for that. I mean, it's a program that we need, and I think the farmers this year are going to see an effect from the drought. Of course, the economy is, and so the Williamson Act will have to reflect some of those problems that we're seeing in our farming industry. And so what we do is we put a risk factor onto our cap rate onto that calculation for the Williamson Act. So hopefully that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because the way the Williamson Act maybe give us an overview how it's structured, because it's there designed to protect because of the fluctuating income of farms. Is that correct?
Yes.
The way the tax versus paying a straight tax rate like we do on commercial and residential
right, and
properties.
it's recalculated every year based on commodity prices and interest rate that we get from the state, and whatever if there's a risk that year. So sometimes it's a flood risk, sometimes it's a drought risk. It just depends on what's going on of how we're going to structure that.
Yeah, and it's and in some cases too, like grazing land. Fresno County and Tulare County has a tremendous amount of that up in the mountains, and there, if it was taxed like everything else, the property would not produce enough rent income to even cover the property tax.
Right, and so Kings County also has a lot of the grazing area as well. And you think that it's not affected by the drought, but it is, because if the cattle can't graze out there, then you know it's causing a problem for them as well.
Yeah, there's no income.
Right.
And no rents. Also, something extremely important is the Registrar of Voters office, and that I think is probably a job in itself there. So talk about what it takes to manage that, and there's always a lot of talk about voter fraud and all those other issues.
Well, yeah, of course. And you know, Kings County we're blessed to be a small county, and our office works really efficiently, and the girls over there do a great job. And we're always pretty timely on counting our votes at the end of an election, unless, you know, there's some kind of a really tight race. And in our small county, sometimes we do have these really tight races that, you know, may come down to 50 votes. And in those kind of cases, then it may take a little longer because somebody may want a recount or whatever. But the thing that's most important right now about the Register of Voters office is, I think, the petition that's going around for the requirement to supply ID whenever you vote. And this is going to be coming on the ballot in November. And the petitions are out there, and I think that, you know, if California wants, if they want voter ID and they want integrity in their voting process, they'll vote this proposition in, and it's going to take a little bit longer with the process for absentee ballots, because there's going to be a little bit more involved in processing those with the voter ID. But I do think that it's well worth the time. Absolutely.
It's that would take there's always, in everything we touch nowadays, there's always a potential for fraudulent behavior.
Absolutely.
But there's a reason why that you have to show your license to write a $5 check at Walmart.
And it's
or open a bank account or anything else. They just want to verify who you are.
Right.
And I really don't think that's too much to ask.
No, it's not. It's not, and it's worth the effort. And being a candidate, I see how much time and money and effort it takes to run a campaign, and we want everybody to feel like they haven't wasted any of their time or effort, in an election that is run unfairly.
Yeah, absolutely. The absentee ballots are dropping this week, right? So those are already going out.
Yes, they should have gone out on Monday.
Okay, so those are dropping, and then what is the last day that a person can register to vote to make it for the June primary? That's coming up, right?
Yes.
Is it? I think it's the 19th. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
The
so
19th.
May 19th. So if you aren't registered, another little tip for voters out there today too: if you've been registered at the same address for many moons, as our Native American friends would say, like myself, I went in and I re-registered because over time our signatures change.
Right, and so then whenever your signature gets verified, you want to make sure that it's current.
Yes, and that way, if you find yourself voting in an extremely tough race and there's a recount, and depending on who's in the counting room with the officials there's both campaigns are there, they're going to start trying to knock ballots out, and they'll say, well, this doesn't match this, and they're going to toss your ballot, and it was all for nothing, and that can really change the outcome of elections.
Right, absolutely it can. And I know my signature's changed over time, so it is always a good idea to re-register every 10 years as you get,
Sure.
you age or whatever, and
Sure.
your handwriting
And-
changes.
And they can just come by the office and do that too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So anyway, make it very good. Okay, Renee, good luck and with everything that you're doing, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Okay, folks, we're going to be right back after these messages.